Today we've got a slightly different video. Recently, a viewer sent in a question, which to be honest, I hadn't really thought of before, and I'll read it to you now. With silver prices rising quite dramatically in recent months, has the surge in silver affected the value of military medals? Before we go any further, I just want to point out I'm not a financial advisor and this isn't financial advice. It's simply my thoughts and observations. So what I will do in this video is try to explain, number one, the change in silver prices in the last few years. Number two, what medals are and aren't affected by this change. And number three, of those medals, which ones specifically are affected the most and proportionately by the rise in silver prices. When I speak of monetary value, I'll use US dollars. That's simply because most of my subscribers and viewers are, strangely enough, from the United States and not the United Kingdom. But what I will do is put the British pound equivalent somewhere on the screen so you'll see it. If we look at silver over the last decade using this bullion by post graph, it's been relatively stable for a number of years, generally floating between roughly $15 and $30 per ounce. However, in the past 12 months, we've seen a significant increase, with prices pushing well beyond that range at times. When the price of precious metals rises sharply, it inevitably raises questions about items made of solid silver, and that includes many historical medals. The medals most likely to be affected by the change are British and British Empire campaign medals that were produced in the 19th and early to mid 20th century. Many of these were struck in sterling silver and contain just over approximately 1 troy ounce of silver. Taking away their collector value, that means their intrinsic metal value moves almost directly in line with the silver price. A very good example of this would be the mass-produced World War I British War Medal. Around 6.5 million of these were produced, and for well over a decade, these have typically traded in the range of, say, $20 to $30, depending on condition and naming. If silver approaches or exceeds that level per ounce, we begin entering a situation where the bullion value is very close to or even matching the collector value. That's where things get interesting. Other medals that could see similar, although perhaps less dramatic moves in price, include the India General Service medals of 1908 or 1936 with single clasps, which on their own often average around $70 for Indian service personnel. Again, depending on rank and condition and regiment, etc. Unlike British medals, the Canadian mass-produced Second World War defence medals are also struck in silver. So again, they would also be tied to bullion fluctuations in the silver price. Lesser traditionally valued medal sets, say with 2 or 3 silver campaign or service medals, may also see a proportional rise. That said, I don't believe higher-end gallantry medals or important sets will be significantly affected. When you're dealing with rare awards, name groups with strong provenance or decorations for bravery, the historical significance far outweighs the metal value. Even if a group contains 5 or 6 silver medals, the cumulative increase in bullion value at today's prices might add $200 to $300 at most, but in my opinion, I can't see it fundamentally changing the collector market. Medals unlikely to be affected are the ones made from bronze or base metals. Good examples of these would be US campaign or service medals, British campaign or service medals such as the 1939 to 45 War Medal, the 1914 to 15 Star or 1914 Star for World War I, as well as the World War II stars as well, which are made from bronze. And also the South Atlantic Medal, which I believe is made of cupra nickel. Made of the same metal, here is the British World War II War Medal. Its valuation is around $15 to $20 or so. This clearly wouldn't be affected, however, a silver Canadian War Medal would, and that price would rise accordingly. When it does come to the price of silver and medal collecting, there is one concern. Whenever precious metal prices rise sharply, we see more people sending their family silverware and jewellery to refiners to be melted down. If common silver medals start approaching melt value, there is a real risk that some medals could be lost in this way. History shows us that this has happened before. After partition in India, many families facing hardship melted down silver medals simply for their bullion value. So if you are considering or know someone considering selling a silver military medal, I would strongly encourage them to take it to a specialist medal dealer rather than a bullion refiner. Even common medals represent someone's service and story. Once melted, that history can't be recovered. Apparently, this also happened in the world of coin collecting to lower-end numismatic coins in the late 1970s, when their bullion value exceeded the collector value and many were melted down. Clearly these coins shown here are not numismatic coins, but together they are in fact the current average price of a pint of beer in the UK. If you're familiar with British currency, maybe you can work it out. And personally, I'd throw in a couple more of these if you buy a pint in London. In my own view, whilst rising silver prices may put some upward pressure on the more common or mass-produced medals like the British War Medal, I can't see it dramatically reshaping the market. But it is something certainly worth watching. In summary, therefore, silver prices can affect medals much like numismatic coins. For more common silver medals like the British War Medal from 1914, this impact can be pretty significant. But to higher value medals, it can be almost irrelevant. Personally, for me, the real value of a medal comes with the story behind it, rather than what metal it was made out of. If you do have a medal in the family or one in the household and are curious to know the actual value of it, the latest value, I would recommend buying the annual copy of Token Publishing's Medal Yearbook. This can give you a broad understanding, and if you want further specific information, I definitely recommend going to visit a professional medal dealer. And I just want to stress I have no relationship with Token Publishing. Although I am curious to see next year what prices and valuations they do publish after all this fluctuation in the silver market. And one thing to consider is there's always the possibility of the price of silver declining or crashing in the coming weeks and months. Who knows? Anyway, I hope I've addressed this question as best as I could. Again, I stress I'm not a financial expert or a professional medal dealer or anything like that. I'm just a bloke in a man cave. As always, I'd be very interested to read your thoughts in the comments and see whether you agree with me or not, especially if you're a medal dealer or a similar professional who can add further context or insight for viewers. Next week, we'll be back on familiar ground with more military-related content, and as you can see, I'm currently doing my research. I hope you found some value from this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.